Welcome to School of Quality Management. In this edition, we will try to understand in brief what is management, what are the functions of a manager, what are different levels of manager. We shall explain the often encountered terms effectiveness and efficiency. And lastly, we will try to understand whether management is an art form or is science. We all know that one of the most important human activity is managing. Ever since people began to form groups to accomplish aims they could not realize as individuals, managing has been indispensable to ensure the harmonization of individual efforts. As society has come to rely increasingly on group effort, and as many organized groups have become large, indeed very large, the task of managers has been rising in importance. Management or managing is the process of designing and maintaining an environment in which individuals working together in groups efficiently accomplish selected aims. Management applies to small and large organizations, to manufacturing as well as service industries, to profit and non-profit enterprises like hospitals, universities, and government agencies. The basic aim of all managers is the same: to create surplus. The function of a manager can be classified into planning, organizing, staffing, leading, controlling, and coordination. Planning is deciding in advance. Plans come into existence once the decision is made. Before the decision, all that exists is proposals or an analysis. There is no real plan. Planning involves choosing the objectives and also the course of action from among alternatives to achieve those objectives. Organizing is creating the structure for performance. People working together in groups to achieve some goals must have roles to play, whether these roles are ones they develop themselves, are accidental or haphazard, or are defined and structured by someone who wants to make sure that people contribute in a specific way to group effort. Organizing is that part of managing that involves establishing an intentional structure or roles for people to fill in an organization. Organization structure helps in creating an environment for human performance. Staffing is human resource mobilization. Staffing involves filling and keeping filled the positions in the organization structure. This is done by identifying workforce requirements, considering the available human resource, recruiting, selecting, placing, promoting, appraising, planning careers, compensating, training, and thus developing existing job holders and new recruits to accomplish their task effectively and efficiently. Leading is getting things done. Leading is influencing people so that they contribute to organization and group goals. It has to do predominantly with the interpersonal aspect of managing. All managers would agree that their most important problem arises from people, their desires and attitudes, their behavior as individuals and in groups, and that effective managers also need to be effective leaders. We all will agree that without followership there is no leadership, and people tend to follow those who offer a means of satisfying their own needs, wishes, and desires. So it is understandable that leading involves motivation, leadership styles and approaches, and also communication. Controlling is basically checking progress against plan. Controlling is the measure and correcting of activities to ensure that events conform to plans. It measures performance against goals and plans and shows where negative deviations exist, and by putting in motion actions to correct deviations helps ensure accomplishment of plans. Fundamentally, outcomes are controlled by controlling what people do. Coordination is achieving harmony. Coordination is the essence of managership for achieving harmony among individual efforts towards the accomplishment of group goals. Efforts of individuals towards a common goal do not automatically mesh with the efforts of others in the group. The task of the manager is to reconcile these differences in approach, timing, effort, interest, or other things, and to harmonize these individual goals to contribute to the organization goals. Management applies to managers at all organization levels. Larger organizations generally have three levels of managers: apex managers or senior managers, middle managers, and lower managers. In smaller organizations, a manager may have a much wider scope and may perform several roles or even all of the roles commonly observed in a large organization. Apex managers or senior managers, such as members of a board of directors and a chief executive officer or a president of an organization. They set the strategic goals of the organization and make decisions on how the overall organization will operate. Apex managers provide direction to middle management, who directly or indirectly report to them. Examples of middle managers would include branch managers, regional managers, department managers, and section managers, who provide direction to frontline managers. Middle managers communicate the strategic goals of senior management to the frontline managers. Lower managers, such as supervisors and frontline team leaders, oversee the work of regular employees or volunteers in some voluntary organizations and provide direction on their work. Managing is concerned with effectiveness and efficiency. Efficiency is about utilizing optimal resource, that is time and money. It is about eliminating waste, and it is yield oriented. Managers should accomplish goals with minimum of resources or accomplish as much as possible with available resources. Effectiveness relates to the quality of the outcome. It is nearness of the actual result with the intended result. Its focus is on the end result. For instance, shots fired per minute will be a measure of efficiency, whereas the number of shots hitting the bullseye will be a measure of effectiveness. Let us have another example. Consider two groups A and B, burdened with the task of erecting two similar masonry towers. Group A has 5 men and Group B has 10 men. Group A completes the task in 10 days, whereas Group B takes 7 days. So, resource consumed by Group A is 50 man days, whereas resource consumed by Group B is 70 man days. Therefore, we can say Group A is more efficient. Now, when the manager came for inspection, he noticed that the Group A tower is slightly tilted, whereas the Group B tower is perfectly vertical. So we can say that Group B is more effective. Managing, like all other practices, whether medicine, music composition, engineering, accountancy, or even soccer, is an art. It is doing things in the light of the realities of a situation. Yet managers can work better if using the organized knowledge about management. It is this knowledge that constitutes science. Thus, managing as a practice is an art. The organized knowledge underlying the practice may be referred to as a science. In this context, science and art are complementary. As science improves, so should art. That's all for this edition. Thanks for your time.